When the iPhone 15 Pro Max was announced last fall, I knew right away that it would eclipse the iPhone 14 Pro Max in the camera department. Since then, I've been able to snap a few photos whenever I had a chance to get my hands on it. But I finally got a better idea of how much more improved it is in this iPhone 15 Pro Max versus iPhone 14 Pro Max camera shootout. There's never been a time I can remember when an older iPhone manages to outperform the newer one, so I'm not worried about that at all. However, I'm more interested to see how Apple widens the gap between generations. 10 categories, one winner, let's find out. By just looking at the specs, the most glaring difference between the two camera systems is their telephoto cameras, with the newer iPhone 15 Pro Max getting a longer zoom range. The iPhone 15 Pro Max comes with a 48 megapixel main camera, 12 megapixel ultrawide, and a 12 megapixel telephoto with 5x optical zoom. In contrast, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is armed with a 48 megapixel main shooter, 12 megapixel ultrawide, and a 12 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom. On an absolutely gorgeous day down by Bryant Park, these photos showcase why the main cameras in iPhones are simply extraordinary. There are a lot of excellent qualities in these two shots, like their strong dynamic range performance and high contrast that expose the scene nicely. I can tell the highlights are handled better by the iPhone 15 Pro Max, as evidenced by the brighter spots around the planter on the right side. Meanwhile, the sign showing Bryant Park near the left side has better definition with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's nearly a draw with this ultra-wide angle shot of Bryant Park overlooking its lawn. Their ultra-wide cameras offer the same 120-degree field of view, so it's more than enough range to capture the lawn from one end to the other. These shots also showcase how they handle strong sources of light that are overpowering the scene. But the edge goes to the iPhone 15 Pro Max simply because of the finer details it preserves. While the grass and faraway skyscrapers look identical, a closer inspection of the back end of the New York Public Library towards the left side has better contrast and detail. I also like the more vibrant colors produced by the newer iPhone. High contrast scenes can often be tough on a camera to evenly balance out the exposure, but the shot of the water fountain at Bryant Park reveals that the iPhone 15 Pro Max is better equipped to handle the shadows. If you look at the base of the fountain that's partly shaded, the iPhone 15 Pro Max reveals some of the details that are slightly more underexposed with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Furthermore, the higher contrast look of the iPhone 15 Pro Max draws out details in the highlights with the buildings in the background. In fact, I can make out more detail in the brickwork. Strictly judging the colors and nothing else, I'm at a draw with these fruit photos taken inside of Whole Foods. From the yellow lemons to the warm hues of the oranges and the darker green limes, it's a deadlock between them when it comes to color reproduction. That's a tie. By getting close to a subject, both iPhones automatically kick into their respective macro modes, which is indicated by the icon that pops up on screen. Again, it's a close call as they both capture a lot of details with this flower, but I made sure to keep the focus and exposure locked into the middle of the photo. I love how they capture the pollen sticking onto the flower, so much so that I could tell which has the better detail. Even when I zoom into the shot, both iPhones capture the same amount of detail. However, the iPhone 15 Pro Max's shot pops a little more because of the vibrant tones of the reds in the flower. In yet another highly contested decision, the iPhone 15 Pro Max only narrowly wins at capturing the better looking portrait photo. The shallow depth of field in both shots evenly throw the background out of focus while keeping more crisp in the center frame. The difference between them is how the iPhone 15 Pro Max pulls in the sharper details, especially around the face, along with the slightly more saturated skin color. Some may prefer the subtle tones of the iPhone 14 Pro Max, but it lacks the iPhone 15 Pro Max's sharper look. At the same time, selfies are better on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, although not by much. Both front-facing cameras deliver crisp details that capture every detail on Mark's face. The only minor difference can be seen in the skin tone, which again has a hint more saturation on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The iPhone 15 Pro Max's superiority on paper is on full display with its 12 megapixel telephoto camera with 5x optical zoom. If zooming is your top priority, then you'll want to go with the newer iPhone. It simply gives a sharper look with faraway subjects. I ended up setting the zoom level to 5x on both phones, but you clearly see that the iPhone 15 Pro Max does a better job at retaining the definition with the brickwork on the Empire State Building when you zoom into the shots. However, I have to admit the overall shots look very similar to one another. Unless you zoom in, there's not a whole lot terribly different about them. One quality I look at when capturing panoramic shots is the phone's ability to keep lines straight across the horizon. Thankfully, both iPhones do an exceptional job of this with the shots of Bryant Park's sprawling lawn. Even with the sun slightly off frame to the left, the exposure throughout the shot is uniform, while the rich greens of the lawn and details look similar in both photos. This one's going to be a tie. Low light performance goes to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, largely due to how the shot of the garage in my backyard appears a little brighter, as well as how it pulls in more detail. I see it most in the branch of the tree above the garage, which has more characteristics in it than the smear details of the iPhone 14 Pro Max's shot. This camera shooter turned out closer than I expected, which is a shocker in my opinion. Yes, the iPhone 15 Pro Max won most of the categories, but I don't think it was by a huge stretch. However, telephoto and low light are the two biggest areas where the iPhone 15 Pro Max proves it delivers much better results. As for iPhone 14 Pro Max owners tinkering with the idea of upgrading, well, it's a tougher call after looking through all the 200 plus photos I captured between the two. It's still a superb camera phone, so much so that it still holds its ground against newer phones. For most shots, I think the year-over-year gains are minor for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, with the exception of its low light and telephoto performances. Ironically, I still carry around the iPhone 14 Pro Max as my other daily driver. Perhaps the iPhone 16 Pro Max would be the more meaningful one to upgrade to next. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. You can follow us everywhere on social at Tom's Guide and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can keep up with all the photo shootouts coming your way. I'm John V, and I'll see you in my next video.